Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come on in for day 3. Come and get settled. And we'll just give everyone a moment to arrive. What song is it? It's called When We Sing by Olivia Fern, who has a lot of music that's really incredible. If you're into circle, into that vibe, her music is wonderful. Okay. I think we'll begin. Did I press record? I pressed record. Wonderful. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here again. I know 3 evenings is a lot to show up, and I really appreciate all of you being here live and all you've poured into this space over the last, what day are we on? Over the last 3 nights. And I'm curious, actually, before we begin, who had the chance to take the quiz that I sent out yesterday? Lots of people had a chance to take the quiz. It was so exciting because we haven't shared that ever before, and it was wonderful to see your responses. Brilliant. Lots of you got to take that. I'm going to dive into some bits from that tonight, but really what I want to spend our energy on this evening is thinking about your pathway to making circle work part of your life. Some of you are doing this already, but you might want to make it more firmly part of your life, and that's how we're going to spend our time. So, as we have each night when we've gathered, let's just begin by lighting a candle. My matches have disappeared. Again, for those of you who missed the quiz, Emma will pop it in the chat. Just taking a moment to light your candle. And if you don't have one, I've lit one for the group. So it feels like to me that we have covered so much over the last 3 days together. Just make sure you can see me. We have leaned into our visions for Circle. We've talked about what we want for ourselves, for our communities, for the world. We have really touched into that deep feeling in our bones that so many of us have, that this work is important. And last night we did a really wide-ranging session about mistakes to try and avoid in your facilitation, whether it's a kind of internal dialogue that you might have where you need some sort of paradigm shift, or whether it's practical mistakes. And I also tried to give you a really robust sense of all the different kinds you might think about if you're taking Circle out into the world and all of the different aspects of facilitation. So we've covered a lot. And you've all shared with so much courage and commitment, and it's been beautiful. And I've said this before, but I was thinking this morning, I was talking to someone and they were saying, what is it you're doing this week and how's it going? And I was trying to explain to them, and I was saying, I just can't imagine what it would be like if all of us who are here actually went out and made something happen. And that is my final invitation to you to this week. My final invitation to you this week in these sessions to start to bring this to life. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. You know, I said at the beginning of our week that we're going to focus on some head, some heart, and some hands. Day 1 was a lot of heart. Yesterday was a lot of head and heart, and today is hands. Like literally, how do we create what we want to bring into the world. And it feels like it's worth touching on this for those of you who've never heard it before. Some of you don't know me at all, and some of you don't know my story with circle work. When I first began this work, fear was a constant companion. I was not someone who would set out to do circle work. It kind of happened upon me. So just less than a decade ago, I had to go and have emergency brain surgery. Really long story for another time. I was otherwise fit and healthy and well, I thought. I went to have an MRI for some headaches. Before I knew it, I was in A&E, and I had to have surgery, which didn't treat the problem I had, but caused a brain hemorrhage. Kind of your worst nightmare, you know, like going for surgery, come out with a hemorrhage. I mean, it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. But in that place where I was incredibly physically unwell, like I have never felt more physically unwell ever. It was astonishing. I touched something really deep within me that I can only describe as like a place of really, really deep knowing. It was a calm I have never experienced before. I was kind of like suspended between knowing whether I was going to be okay and being able to function, whether I would make it, and the just like complete depths of the abyss, not knowing what would happen. But there was a calmness there that I touched into in those few days when things looked really bad, that I took out of the hospital and I carried with me. And in my recovery, I had this astonishing moment where I had a really clear message drop into my head. Hold a story circle. It's like, what's a story circle? Call it sister stories. And I've never since had something like that happen. That's that kind of clarity. But I listened to that impulse, that voice, that calling, whatever it was. And I knew nothing about what I would do in the space. I just knew that the calling was undeniable. And alongside this sort of like strong feeling of like, this is what I'm here to do. And I'm literally just like going like that because it was such a strong feeling. And I had to sort of hold myself through it because it felt really scary. I had all of these doubts. Who am I to do this? What if people judge me? You know, I had like this flashy job in the television industry at the time, and it seemed like a weird thing for me to do because I didn't really understand what it was and nobody else understood what it was. What if I fail? What if I cause harm? Some of those fears that you talked about last night. I had always been behind the scenes in documentaries. I'd never stepped out and used my voice in any way. I shared on the first night about how hard I found it to share my voice. I had this really pervasive feeling that some of you might relate to, that I was going to be burned at the stake. I just had this feeling that I was doing something transgressive and wrong, which I now know to be called the witch wound. But it felt like I was doing something really edgy, gathering women in circle around a fire. So there was so much fear, so much fear. But it's not that the fear magically went away, it's just that I began. And it took commitment and it took devotion, and it took me gathering 8 women in my living room in London at the time where I lived at the time, and then another, and then another, and then another, step by step by step over the years, holding more spaces, following the call, gathering more women. And that's how Sister Stories began. And now, in the last year alone, we have reached tens of thousands of women with this work and genuinely changed lives. And it astonishes me that that is what's happened. And I mention this because if I hadn't taken that first step and allowed those fears to be there, but take action anyway, I never would have got to this point. And so we're going to spend some time thinking about what your own version of your story of taking this work out into the world might be. So we'll perhaps start with a bit of meditation and a bit of grounding. So closing your eyes, softening your gaze if you prefer. And if there's noise around you, if there's distractions around you, seeing if you can let it fall away just for a moment. seeing if you can rest back into the surface on which your body is resting. And seeing if you can soften just a little. Coming back to that circle that we stepped into, we've stepped into every night that we've gathered around the fire. With a woman to your left and a woman to your right, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. Coming back to what this fire represents. That fire that represents the power and the possibility of circle. That fire that offers the possibility of the ritual that our hearts crave so deeply. Allowing us to warm our hearts and our hands in community, in togetherness, in this ancient way of coming together that so many of us have forgotten. And as we sit here together, I want to invite you into that sense of deep listening that we touched into on night one, but also remembering. Listening to the whispers of your heart. Listening to the feeling in your bones. Tuning back into that sense of what you want for your life with this work that gets to be your medicine, this work that gets to be soul balm for so many people when they sit in your spaces. What might your life be like if you stepped into it? We don't need to be realistic. What might your life be like if you stepped into it? Just sit and listen. Sit and listen. And we're going to do something that we haven't done yet. So just staying in that listening space, in that space of being tuned in to what might want to emerge from within you, to the calling you feel, to the direction you might be headed in. We're going to open our eyes, but stay in that energy. And I want to invite you to think about a few things. And then we're going to take a moment to write and reflect. So what are the things that move you most about this work? So many of us have felt it this week, being in the room with so many other women. What are the things that move you about this work, the work of Circle? What does it mean to you to bring this vision of gathering groups, of gathering people to sit in circle to life? What does it mean to you to bring this to life? And then finally, if you were truly devoted to this work, what would you do? If you were truly devoted to this work, what would you do? I'm just going to check the time. Okay. Well, I'm going to invite us to take some time to do, and just again, staying in that really, that listening energy, that receptive energy, that gentle energy. Let's take some time to write ourselves a letter. So it is, imagine we're in September 2026. What have you done to bring your devotion and vision to holding circles to life? And we'll write the letter in the present tense. So I might, imagining it's 2026, so I might write, Dear Gemma, it's September 2026. I have spent the last year holding regular circles. I've run a retreat in Scotland. I've X, I've Y. This is what it took of me. This is what I found hard. This is what I found beautiful. So, imagining you're in a year's time, September 2026, begin the letter, dear, your first name, and look back at the last 12 months. What have you done? Who have you become? What has this work, doing this work, brought you? Does that make sense to everyone? Does everyone know what's going on? Some thumbs up. Amazing. Okay. So I'll perhaps play some music. And the questions are loose, but the invitation is to really imagine yourself in a year's time, having done it, having actually done it. What does it feel like? What did it take to get here? Sorry about that music coming in. I want to really encourage you to be bold, put realism to the side. Think about what you really want for yourself. Seeing what delights you and surprises you. Touching into what felt sticky or hard or challenging. And what felt beautiful. Okay, we'll just take one more minute with this. Finishing your final few sentences. Completing your letter in your own time. You might even want to sign it off. Love, Gemma. We've got goosebumps, we've got tears. I'm just going to read one of the letters posted in the chat. Dear Lisa, it's September 2026. I've now used all that I've learned from Sister Stories and incorporated beautiful circle time for my brave ladies in my breast cancer recovery group as part of their reflexology and Reiki sessions. The medical staff, including oncologists, have created their own circle with me holding space to share their deepest thoughts on their pathway. I know I am making a difference, soothing stressed and overwhelmed souls. Love and light, Lisa. I almost burst into tears reading that, Lisa. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And what I'm going to do is, let me just go like this. I'm going to invite 3 of you who might feel brave enough to say your letter aloud. So you might be able to raise your little digital Zoom hand. You should find it in the React button. You can put your hand up. We've got Annie, we've got Lorraine, we've got Beaver Meadow. Beautiful. So I'm going to go one by one. Annie, are you able to come on camera? There you are.
Hello.
Wonderful. I'm just going to make you large, Annie, just so we can.
Oh no.
I know.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
Not
Fine.
only am I going to
That's
ask you to
okay.
read it out, I'm also going to ask you to be large.
No, that's fine.
Love to
That's
hear your letter.
fine. Am I just reading and then I'll vanish?
We'll vanish you when you finish.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. I have written, Dear Annie, it's September 2026. Your journey in self-love and self-healing has been beautiful. You've opened up your mind to shadow work. You've held women's circles for your friends and others too that feel like they needed a safer space to be themselves. Your home is well cleansed, well looked after. You've given healing, love, and kindness to yourself, your children, and your friends. It has been a time of transformation spiritually, mentally, and physically, and you have grown, and I am very proud of you. Love, Annie.
Oh, Annie,
Yeah.
take a moment. I don't
Yes.
you feel the hearts
Oh, yeah.
being
Thank you.
inundated with support.
I lower my hand because I just look like I'm. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you very much.
I love how you had that feeling of you're supporting others and also that your home is beautiful, your space is clear. Absolutely amazing. Thank you. Okay. We're just going to go to three of you, the three I mentioned, but I would love to hear more of yours later so you can share in the group if you're in it. Right, let me get Lorraine up. Lorraine.
Hello. Oh, hang on. Let me just. Do you want to go to the next person? Come back to me.
We'll do that. No problem.
Sorry.
It's all right. So, who is next? Where are you? Here you are. Hello.
Hi, hello. Okay, here we go. Dear Beaver, it's September 2026, and this last year you invited the women in your local neighborhood to come to a monthly circle. You overcame fear and shame to reach out and create a community where none existed. You almost died out there in the wilderness on your own. But you howled to find your pack, and they heard the call and gathered. Your circle grew, your confidence grew, your heart grew. You did this. You were brave and courageous, and your efforts were rewarded. You did it. Viva la Beaver.
Oh my goodness. Beaver, can you just read that line again? You nearly died out there, but
You almost died out there in the wilderness on your own, but you howled to find your pack, and they heard the call and gathered.
oh my goodness. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What an incredible, incredible letter. Thank you, Beaver, for sharing that with us. Stop myself bursting into tears non-stop. Right, Lorraine, I'm going to get you up. There's nothing worse when you unmute and then a household appliance starts beeping at you. Let's go for you now.
Right. I haven't put much about myself in there, but yeah. So, dear Lorraine, I have been holding circles for a year now. I have many different ones with women all over England. I have created brave spaces for women to be able to use their voice, just be, sing, story tell, uplift one another, heal, be emotional, express the worries of being a woman, a place for all unwanted energy to be released. I have been a facilitator for women to be able to heal from being victims to survivors into warriors and finally step into their true goddess forms. Tribes have been formed, unbreakable bonds made, love shared, problems halved, emptiness filled with friendships. Keep going. You are changing lives. Love, Lorraine.
Oh, Lorraine. Oh my God, thank you so much.
Means a lot.
How are you feeling?
I've been through so much in my life and I've done so much healing, and I'm at the end now. I'm ready to help other people, and I want to help give voices to other women that haven't had a voice.
Beautiful. Your voice to those who haven't had one. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Soak in the love and the appreciation that's sent your way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. My goodness, I really, really felt that in each person. We each had so much beauty and so much conviction and so much strength. And do you feel, hearing those shares, how beautiful it is to take ourselves out of our individual rooms that we're in and kind of lives that we're living and linear path and share together the power of this work? I felt so alone doing this work when I first started, until I found communities of women who were also doing it and who I could talk to and who got it, and who, you know, Beaver said, like, you know, I made the call of the wolf. Sorry, Beaver, to quote you incorrectly, but, you know, I put out the call of the wolf and it was answered. And everyone here knows what she means by that. You know, like, just a place where people get it. So thank you to everyone for sharing. I wish we could have heard 50, but I want to give some time and space to spending some time to think about, okay, we want to do it. How are we going to do it? And how are we going to do it, given that we know that we both hold gifts? We all have our unique gifts and we all have challenges. And I want to touch into a little bit of the results of the quiz that I shared last night. So as a bit of background, and then I'll put the archetypes up on the screen. I have been training women in this work since 2018. And I have noticed that there are patterns of ways of being that, and approaches to this work, and internal patterns that sort of fall broadly into 5 different categories. And so for those of you who haven't done the quiz yet, Emma will hopefully be able to pop it in the chat. You might be able to have a little go through quickly while I'm talking about it. But for those of you who did, you probably saw yourself in multiple ones of each of the answers. But you will have got to a place where, from what I've seen of the sharing so far, there was some resonance about who you are. So I wonder, Emma, can you just pop up the archetype slide for a moment on the screen? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk these through. And if you didn't do the quiz last night, maybe you resonate with you. The quiet torchbearer. This was probably me when I started holding circles. Often doubting that you're ready to lead, but feeling the deep, visceral pull. Often doubting you're ready to lead, perhaps being quieter in nature, or knowing that you've got some sort of quiet power, but fearing a leadership role, but feeling this pull to the work. And for each of these, I've offered a gentle next step or a big next step. The next step is to learn to trust your own quiet power and begin to take that first step. I was with one of my long-term mentorship groups today, people who've trained with me sometimes last year, sometimes like 5 years ago, who are committed to circle work and who get support from me. And there was someone in there who was saying how she has been holding regular circles for over a year, but the quiet torchbearer part of her literally still feels so terrified to tell anyone that she's doing it. And so her next step is to take the sort of meet her edge and just gently start to spread the word in a way that honors her own capacity, doesn't blow out her nervous system, but really allows people to find her beautiful, beautiful space. So for some of you, that you're quiet, but you want to lead, this is your archetype. The next, I also actually identify with this, but I probably identify with all of them, which is why they are here. The recovering overachiever. Who was a recovering overachiever? You feel exhausted from the hustle and keeping it all together. And you know a gentler way is calling. I can see we've got lots of recovering overachievers here. You know, I talked yesterday about how this work is so countercultural and how it asks us to divest from that forward motion and that kind of hustle mindset that is so instilled in so many of us. So the next step for you is to start to walk the path of this gentle, compassionate form of leadership, which is full of intuition and heart, taking a softer way, a slower way, allowing yourself to do less. The next, the sacred professional. Who was a sacred professional? We've got some in the room. Yeah, I can see some thumbs up. So you're highly skilled and trained. You have perhaps got the degrees, the certificates. You are a master of your craft, but you yearn for something more. And often I find with the sacred professional, it's like, is there, I'm longing for a more intuitive way that isn't all about my qualifications. And again, this sort of different form of leadership that I was touching into last night. Next step, learn to trust your quiet power and begin without needing 10 million certificates to say you can do it. So next, we've got the weaver. Who was a weaver? When I held my mentorship group today, there were so many weavers in the room. It was the majority of weavers, which was really interesting. Yeah, we've got a lot of weavers here as well. This is a beautiful one. So you've learned so much. You've got so many interests and skills. You've probably trained in 10 million different things over the years, but you lack a coherent path or a body of work. Scatterbrained, Sar says in the chat. I actually really think that the weaver has this astonishing skill of having all of these threads of wisdom and knowledge, and all it requires is a coherent expression of those. Being multifaceted and multi-passionate and containing multitudes is not something to be ashamed of, and yet I can hear a lot of shame around this particular archetype. So the next step is to start to work out how to gather your many gifts into one rooted, authentic voice. Let me just share a little story about this. I identify a little bit less with this one, but when I was starting out with Circle, I was talking to one of my mentors and I was saying, it doesn't make any sense because I'm this documentary maker and I'm this filmmaker, but I also do these circles and it just doesn't, how do I put it all together? And she asked me a question. She said, what is the connective tissue that coheres your work? I was like, wow, I don't really understand what that question means entirely. What is the connective tissue that coheres your work? i.e., can you find a common thread? And I was like, oh my goodness, the common thread of my documentary work and my circle work is story. I am here to hold space for story, whether it's behind the camera or whether it's in circle. And once I had that knowledge, it just started to give me this pace and forward momentum that was huge. Finally, we have got the cultural repairer. So you carry grief and rage and a vision for justice, but it feels heavy and often like you're carrying it all alone. I can see lots of people resonating with this. It's often the activists of our world. Lots of these here. Being a cultural repairer and doing this work can be such a life-giving thing. So for a next step, leading with tenderness, anchoring into lineage, and starting to drink at the life-giving well of doing this in community, like we have this week, touching in to that great sense of resource that we share and not doing it alone. Activism is incredibly important for me and my work and my life. And around July this year, I almost fell into a very dark hole of despair that I couldn't get out of. I mean, I went to a real place of difficulty because I was so overwhelmed by what I was seeing in the world and felt so helpless at the scale of what must be shifted and moved and changed. And it surprised me, the thing that saved me. The thing that saved me was going to a grief circle held by someone associated with this community. And I don't know what happened in that space, but something just shifted. And I touched into something that felt bigger and resourced me. And it doesn't solve the problems out there, but it resourced me enough to allow me to carry on in here. And so for the cultural repairers in the room, the tender hearts, See if you can drink at the life-giving well of community. Find your people with this work. Okay. I think I could talk about these archetypes for another 3 evenings, but because they're new, I'm not quite there yet with them. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on these. And I'm going to talk to you about a next step that some of you might want to take. This isn't for all of you, but it will be for some of you. And I've touched into it a couple of times this week, but it's some of the formal ways that I support people in taking their next step with Circle. So I've been running this for 7 years. It's a Circle facilitation training, and Emma, maybe you can share the slide. I run it twice a year. Our next cohort begins in a few weeks. And Becky Havery, who trained a few years ago, said, this training changed my story. So I'm going to talk to you about what it is and how it works. So I'm going to give you this invitation, and I'm also going to share the stories of some women who've been through it. So this is an invitation for you to step forward if, excuse me, I'm just going to make sure I can read properly. If you want to become the kind of compassionate leader the world is aching for. So being anchored, ethical, fiercely devoted to human connection. If you want to transform that instinctive part that we talked about yesterday, that beautiful intuitive sense that you have, and talk to it and transform it into a mastery to hold space that changes lives. If you want to feel anchored, skilled, and deeply equipped. And when I say deeply equipped, so that you can go into any room and hold powerful group space professionally, safely, and well, and so that you can turn your longing into a sense of legacy. Okay. Oh, I have lost my slides. I can't see Emma. Where are we? I've lost Zoom. Okay, you're back, you're back, you're back. So if you want to go beyond surface facilitation and become someone who holds ritual, healing, and change with grace, be part of something powerful, this movement of women rising in service and sovereignty and sisterhood, and to stop circling around your purpose and to take the one brave, grounded step into it so that you can do the work that your soul came here to do. And it's worth saying that this training is accredited. And what that means is it means, what is happening with my slides? Bear with me. There we go. It means that it's much more than a passion project or a self-study course. This is a fully accredited CPD training, which means it's recognised as professional development. And why that matters is because it holds us to a much higher standard. It means that what you're learning is rigorous and structured and respected. And it also means that you can claim CPD hours if you're in a field like teaching, healthcare, or therapy, at least 40 hours, that may increase. And many of our graduates have been able to use this training as part of their professional development pathway. So I went after this accreditation because, yes, this is soulful work, but it's also a world-class training that you can stand behind with confidence. So in the last 6 months, I have been invited to hold circles in 2 very big organisations. One is a charity, one is a big institution, and the accreditation of my programme was a big decision in them trusting me to hold that kind of space. And so it's worth saying, and I want to foreground this, and we'll talk about this much more. This is much more than simply a training. It is absolutely beautiful and can change your life if you let it. And I think some of us will have sensed into this week. Imagine if you were doing this week after week after week, year after year after year, this kind of connection. But it's also a professional training journey. So whether you're brand new and you're starting afresh, or you're weaving circle into some existing work for the weavers amongst you, this is a training that gives you structure and standards and tools and confidence to what lead in a way that really changes lives. And so I often talk about the transformation of this training. People always leave saying, this changed my life. It can change your life if you let it, but you'll also leave qualified. And, you know, I keep banging on about CPD, but it's a globally recognized qualification across coaching, therapeutic fields, education fields, corporate spaces. And that really matters because, and I'm really giving a shout out to the sacred professionals and the recovering overachievers here. You want to move beyond just being inspired and feeling transformed. You want to know that this is rigorous and recognized and that you can stand behind it with confidence. I used to talk about my circle work and people often used to think it was a hobby, and I used to get quite defensive about that. We're taking this beyond it being a hobby to something that allows you to say, I'm qualified, I've got a really robust practice, and this is my work that I'm doing. And so the way that we have evolved this over the years is there are 3 layers of transformation. The personal, it's impossible to go through this and not be personally transformed in some way. So you can reconnect to your voice, your confidence, your purpose. You can become someone who leads from grounded truth without performance. You get the opportunity to be held week after week after week. Encircle yourself by many different facilitators so you can actually experience the kind of sacred space you are going to create. Sometimes people come into this experience never having held a circle, never having been to a circle, but knowing that they want to lead. And you will become a much richer facilitator, as we touched on yesterday, when you allow this work to meet you first and let it move through you. So that personal holding is so big. And that aspect is some of the, one of the things that people find most surprising about going through this process, the personal holding it gives. Then we've got the professional element that I've touched on. Really robust, soulful spaces, holding space with clear skill and clarity and integrity. A really unshakable foundation for space holding. So you learn how to hold circles, but we have many, many practitioners from different disciplines who do this and are like, wow, this is really transforming my other work in ways that I wasn't expecting to. Once you have the foundation of space holding like this, it will ripple out into all of the different kinds of spaces you hold. And then there's the collective. You become part of a wider movement. It is really inspiring to sit in a room. You know, we heard 3 voices tonight. You sit each week and hear a genuinely diverse range of women sharing their visions and what they're doing with their circle work and their aspirations and the skills that they have from other backgrounds that they bring in, suddenly transform what we're talking about in the space. You get to become part of that. You can bring circle, as I shared, into community, school, healthcare, workplaces and beyond. And it isn't just about growth, although you will grow exponentially. I always think that this work is about starting to heal culture one gathering at a time, circle by circle by circle. And I want to talk about a couple of people who have been through it. Some of you here have been through it yourself, and you may know this woman. So we'll start with Charlotte. Just get Charlotte up on the screen. So for Charlotte, circle became part of her activism. She said, circle is part of my activism and it's given me a business, it's given me an income. She wanted a way to bring women together in truth-telling and solidarity and power, but she also made it a meaningful part of her income. And I mention this because one of the biggest fears I hear people have is like, can I actually make this sustainable? Should I charge for Circle? Will anyone pay? And Charlotte is one of many people who have proven that not only can you make this part of your soul's purpose, you can also make it part of your livelihood. And she isn't the only one. Many of our graduates have done this. Emma from the team, who's now on the team, but also is a thriving Circle holder in her own right, have built offerings that both serve their communities and support their lives. And I really am wanting to just give a shout out to the cultural repairers amongst you who pour so much into trying to do good things in the world. If you want something that can be part of your devotion and your activism, Circle can be part of it. And for the weavers and for the, what's it called? The torch-bearing one. The quiet torchbearers, where you want to have the confidence to step into a kind of leadership that's sustainable. Charlotte's a really great example of that. It can be a really meaningful part of who you are in the world, how you show up in the world, and your paid work. So that's Charlotte. Next, we've got Umberine, who I'm looking at who's in the space, and I know some of you know Umberine very well. She is a doctor in the NHS. She does voluntary work with Amnesty International, where I believe she recently won an award for her facilitation. And when she had joined the Circle training, she had sat with me in Circle a lot as a participant, but she wondered if this work would fit alongside her profession and whether it would kind of add anything or whether she was just chasing another qualification. She is a sacred professional, that kind of like, do I need another qualification or will it help? What will I get out of it? And the surprising thing that she said to me that I just loved when she shared it was, it made me a better doctor to my patients. And here's the thing about the way really devoting yourself to training in Circle can ripple out into your own life. It isn't just about holding gatherings, although of course that's part of it. It's actually about developing our relational capacity, our ability to listen more deeply, be more connected, show up in a space in a more deeply human way. And that starts to translate everywhere in our lives. So for Umberine, it was the hospital. We've got a head teacher training at the moment who's going to be holding parent circles in her school community. People take it into boardrooms. People take what they learn and it ripples out into their families and their parenting and their friendships and their relationships. So this is the kind of transformation we see again and again, where it's actually not just about the skills that you learn in terms of space holding, it's the way it ripples out into all of the way you move through the world and interact with people. So that's Umberine. This is Olivia Fern. So Olivia Fern is the person whose song I was playing at the beginning of this session. So she took this work with Circle and wove it into her art. So she got an Arts Council grant, and she held circles with over 150 women combining music, which is her real skill, and Circle and story. And what I love about this is, she's a weaver archetype, someone who took those threads of music, artistry, and Circle and put them all together. But it's so adaptable. Once you have the model, you can start to bring in those other threads that you have. This is why for the weavers amongst you, being a weaver isn't a failing. It can start to be, Circle often for weavers can be the place where it all starts to make sense because there's so much potential for this work. So it's a really adaptable framework that you learn and a really adaptable skill. So that's Olivia Fern. And if you haven't heard her music, go and check it out. She's incredible. Next, we've got Michelle. And Michelle does something so beautiful. Since she did the training, I see her out there all the time, holding regular spaces in her community, holding regular spaces online. And she shows up and she gets on with it. And one of the biggest fears that people have coming to this experience is like, what if I don't follow through? What if I take this training and then life gets in the way? And there are some people who take this and run with it, like Michelle, but there are other people who need the kind of like a sort of fierce accountability to get started. So I don't have a slide of her, but there's another woman called Lucy who trained a few years ago, and she was in the training and she was like, right, I do not want to make this another course I don't finish. I'm going to set myself a challenge. I'm going to declare it to you. I'm going to hold 30 circles in 30 days. She did it. Then that went really well. She built an amazing community. And then she went on to hold 60 circles in 60 days. And I mention this aspect of, if you're someone who starts things and doesn't finish them, we build in accountability for you. We have practice pods, we have live calls, we have mentoring, we have a deadline for your accreditation, all things that are designed to make sure that you don't just learn the skills, but that you actually learn to use them. And we're putting even more of that accountability in this way. This time round, sorry. We've got just 2 more women. This is Sandeep, and her words mean a lot to me. So she says here, I've got deep gratitude for the care, inclusion, and sheer professionalism. There is immense value in your facilitation support, and I'm already applying what I've learned. She names something here that I take really seriously, treating it as a profession. So Emma and I both seek to be deeply professional, a sense of inclusion, a sense of care. And she went out, she is a coach by background, and she has incorporated this in her coaching and in her circles and in retreats. Again, she's, I would say, in the sort of sacred professional archetype. And if you're in a sacred professional archetype where you have a worry, like, is this rigorous and ethical and inclusive enough? Hopefully Sandeep's words will help you get a sense that it is. And then finally, we've got Leanne. This is what she said about the ripple effect of doing this training. It's been really transformational. I've seen the ripple effects in my home, in my work, in my community. For part of our training, we were asked to record our circle opening, which includes a meditation. I shared the meditation portion of my audio with my son, who has ADHD, and I watched his whole nervous system relax. He was so calm. And he said to me, I really think that this would help children like me. And that was the real moment that cemented it for her, that you can take this ripple effect into all areas of your life. Okay, I'm conscious of the time, so we'll move through the final few slides. And those of you who want to join us might take that leap. So let's talk about what you get in the training and how it works. Here's the backbone. It's held online over 5 months of immersive step-by-step learning. You're inside this professionally held container. You get a 7-part facilitation framework, which covers all sorts of things, from trauma awareness to structure and ethics, and safeguarding was talked about last night. We go into that in depth in the training in a way it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to do last night in a 1-hour call. Ritual, sacred leadership. We have live weekly group calls where you can touch into practical tools, deepen your practice, community connection, get mentorship from me every week. And we've got a program of world-class guest teachers. And one of the things I'm incredibly committed to, particularly in this next set of training, is making sure you don't fall through the cracks. So often people worry about, like, what if I get lost in the group? What if I don't follow through? We have built in support at every level. So we've got weekly spaces where you can get one-to-one support and accountability, led by me, supported by Emma. You can ask questions, you can receive coaching. I'm a trained coach. I'm also a trained business strategist, would you believe? So sometimes people want that input and have a real anchor. You have access to a really rich program of live circles, which are held for you by other members of the Sister Stories community, a diverse range of facilitators, so that you can be held in circle. You'll get personalised feedback on your facilitation. You'll get it from your peers in the group, and you'll get it from myself. a really detailed set of feedback, and we have practice pods and peer circles and places for you to really cement the connections that you make in this. And the training is 5 months, but it honestly is a foundation for years to come. We give you sacred business and soulful marketing guidance to help you launch and grow your circle offerings. You get your certificate, so you have that professional credibility. You've got lifetime access to the training content. It's not like I put an expiry time on it. You will have access to that forever, and people return to it again and again. And you also get free access to our alumni container, people who've been through the training before, and I put on free calls for you every quarter. So you can plug, it's like plugging back into the mains, coming and getting support again at no extra charge. So let's talk about us who support you. So there is me. I have held thousands of circles. I have been running this training for 7 years. I lead the experience. There is Emma, who some of you have met these last few days, who trained with me in 2022, who is an astonishingly talented facilitator, who's got a thriving in-person community where she lives and who has been supporting this training for the last year. She is with you every step of the way, and people adore having her by their side. Then there's Amelia Doncourt, who did this training in 2018. She is an actor, she's an extraordinary facilitator, and she has experience across circles, across a wide range of group facilitation. She's got an expertise in corporate work, if you're interested in going into that, and she leads us through a variety of different workshops in our time together. So they're the 3 main teachers, and then we've got some world-class guest teachers. I've lost my screen again. Where is it? I won't keep you much longer. Where are we? Okay. We've got Tamu Thomas, incredible embodiment teacher, leads with joy. We've got Rachel Maddox, one of my business mentors, who has a really soulful approach to helping you get your first circle off the ground whilst really leaning into your unique gifts. She has taught me so much about how to get my voice out into the world in a way that feels an integrity to me, not what everyone else is doing. We've got Abby Osho, who is an award-winning facilitator, a documentary that she facilitates in called White Nanny Black Child, which is on Netflix, won a BAFTA recently. It's an extraordinary, she has an extraordinary combination of helping people surface their stories and facilitate beautiful groups. You'll learn from her. Bottom left, we've got Ava Glamaris. She leads Sacred Inclusion. We have a thread running throughout this training of anti-oppression, inclusivity. We have training for white women. We have spaces specifically for women of the global majority. She leads with that by doing some work to root us into ancestry. She's an extraordinary teacher. She's been in this program with me for 4 years and people love her sessions. Then we have got Claire Rother, one of many trauma experts that I have learned from. She teaches you trauma-informed space holding. And she teaches you the really practical element of it, i.e., what happens in a circle if someone becomes incredibly dysregulated? What do I do if I become dysregulated? Like, how do you actually use trauma theory in your circles? And then finally, we've got Nikki Harrison, who trained in 2021 or 2022. Time is I forget what year she trained in, but around that period. She runs the grief space. She is an incredibly powerful teacher on grief, and people find her spaces completely extraordinary. So you'll learn the foundations of grief tending from Nikki. We've talked about what you'll walk away with. We can maybe go to the next slide. And we do a survey. Everyone who's completed the survey said that it exceeded their expectations. 100% of trainees said it exceeded their expectations. And someone came in earlier this year who was an experienced facilitator already. She's had lots of circles. And in week 2, she was like, oh my gosh, this has already given me so much more than I thought. This is the real deal if you lean into it. So let's talk about the key details. We begin in a couple of weeks, in mid-October. The course investment for everything I've talked about, all of the training, all of the live calls, the accreditation, all of the guest teachers, the lifetime access, the alumni membership is £2,500, and there are flexible payment plans available. And we have a couple of cohorts running simultaneously. We have groups that meet every second Wednesday at 1 o'clock for 90 minutes, every second Thursday at 1 o'clock, or 7 o'clock on Thursdays. You can see these on the website to pick the time that works best for you. And you will be running circles by the end of the year. We're going to build it in. So here are the things that can come up that can hold you back. Is it worth the money? Am I ready? And the timing of it. This is an investment, and I want to make sure that you feel confident in your investment. I have held enough people through this process to know that, firstly, on a really practical level, if you were to train in all the different skills that you need to hold circle that this training gives you, it would cost you tens of thousands of pounds. So there's that. The second thing is that it would take about 10 circles, one professional, one corporate workshop, or one retreat to make the investment back. And I want you to have skills that last a lifetime, and people do. Am I ready? Can I do this? We have people from all of the different archetypes coming in, people who are incredibly experienced, people who have no experience at all. All of you will be met where you're at. And the question of timing often comes up in terms of like, I've got a lot going on in my life. Is this really for me? This can be the anchor that holds you through whatever you're going through in this time. So here are the next steps. Some of you will just know you want to do this. Some of you will just know. We have limited spaces in each cohort. We are about 50% full for October already. Some of you are on this call already who are taking part. Emma will put the link in the chat for the details so you can sign up. And for the first 5 people to sign up, as a little thank you for taking action and being committed, I am going to offer a one-to-one session with me. So if you just know, go ahead and do it. I'm sure many of you have questions, and I really want to honour space for those questions. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock, I'm going to do a Q&A, which is 12 o'clock UK time, all about how the training works. If you're unsure if it could work for you, or you're not sure about this bit, or you didn't understand that bit, come along tomorrow, and it will be recorded. So if you can't make it live, watch out for the recording. The other thing that I do, because I really take each person coming to this seriously, book a call with me. There's a link to do it on the website. I don't have endless slots because of my small children, but I do want to talk to those of you who need a little bit of extra help one-to-one to talk it through. And watch out in your inbox. Over the next couple of days, I'll be sending you stories and reminders and reflections to help you feel if this path is truly yours. This is a bit of a random quote, but I love it. But of Ursula K. Le Guin: you cannot buy the revolution, you cannot make the revolution, you can only be the revolution. It is in your spirit or it is nowhere. This is the vibe I want our circles to bring to the world. A circle revolution, a movement of people bringing this beautiful work in their own way, in their own community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. And whether you choose to come and join us or whether you're just here for these 3 days, I hope you have taken inspiration and knowledge and a sense of community and a sense of you not doing it alone and a real sense of what is possible for you, but also what is possible for the world when we do this work. And I would love to close by just sharing the video once more of Amelia, the guest teacher we just met, on night 1, sharing her beautiful words about gathering women. Maybe you can share it, Emma. It's not coming up. We'll leave it. We will close with a word of how we're leaving today's space. Inspired, grateful, ready, connected, open, grateful, comforted, inspired, encouraged, motivated, blessed, ready to make it happen, fulfilled, peaceful, curious. Scared, inspired, peaceful, thoughtful. Thank you so much, everyone. If you're thinking about training, come and talk to me. Come and talk to me. That's what I'm here for. If you're not going to, best of luck. Thank you so much, everyone. We will close our sessions just by blowing out our candles. And in a moment, I'm going to invite everyone to unmute and say goodbye for a final time. And that, if that isn't for you, you might want to leave a moment early, or you might want to just mute your volume. So if you all want to unmute and say goodbye, we will say our farewells. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Amazing. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But it's not working.
Bye.